She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Sports can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Advice, did you know that Arsenal died?
These got me buzzing.
Up the topies. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm gonna comment on that. Welcome back to Footy with the Boys and a special U.S. men's national team preview edition for our friendly versus Colombia. We have Nico here, our half and half, a little Colombian, a little American. What are you doing to your camera, buddy?
I don't know. I did the peace sign, and then I thought of doing the ET thing, so I like that.
I like it. You're just letting it go. That's exactly what we're about to do here. I will take the USA side of going into this friendly. Nick will take Colombia. Obviously, both teams getting ready for the Copa America. But first, Nick, some news around the U.S. men's national team sphere. Gio Reyna, unfortunately, did not get a Champions League medal with Dortmund. They were in the final against Madrid. Gio Reyna had played 2 games with them, so would have technically been eligible to get the medal. That's probably not something to claim to, and certainly if we do, it's not going to make Americans look great. But talking about the game here, Dortmund were honestly extremely close. As much as it wouldn't have been necessarily applicable to Gio Reyna, Dortmund, man, they had their chances. Adeyemi, if he would have just put that in, I mean, he was past Courtois. I mean, they had some opportunities there. They seemed like they were on the front foot, but it is Real Madrid, Nick, and Real Madrid does as Real Madrid does, and it does end with a Carvajal corner header. Nobody marked him, and then Vinicius Jr., of course, from Jude Bellingham to close it out as a 2-0 here. Nick, is it down to Vinicius and Jude Bellingham for Ballon d'Or this year?
I mean, it probably should be. It probably will be. We'll see. I don't know. Somehow Phil Foden won Player of the Season, so he might get a shout. But maybe, who knows? Yeah, it was a pretty good game, if I'm being honest. I was locked in for probably up until that Vinny goal. I thought it was a really, really good game.
Crowd was
That mistake
crazy.
from dude, it was insane. That Maatsen mistake was horrible to end the game there at the end. But yeah, I thought it was good. You're right. Adeyemi was electric. Couldn't finish to save his life, unfortunately. Some pretty good saves from Courtois. Nothing insane like you'd expect a keeper of his quality to make those saves, but still impressive saves in that spot. Dortmund on their own were on the front foot the entire first half. Real Madrid looked like they had absolutely
lot
no
better.
transition defense. Yeah, I mean, there was multiple counterattacks where it felt like it was 6v3 of Dortmund versus Madrid defenders. And so it was pretty insane. Ultimately, though, Dortmund, having not been in that stage before, all those players, minus Royce, who got a cameo at the end, but having not been at that stage before, they didn't really have the minerals for it, and ultimately it cost them. They weren't clinical enough, they weren't calm enough in the moments that really mattered, because that game was there to be won. So I don't think this is the case of Real Madrid is a super team and they win again. They just had the right mentality. They've had a lot of players who've been there before. I don't think they played that well. The Carvajal goal was a Dortmund mistake. The Vinny goal was a Dortmund mistake. So kudos to them. You don't win any Champions Leagues by accident, obviously. 15 is historic. They're incredible.
6 of the
And
last
at the end
11.
of the day, seriously, I mean, at the end of the day, they took the opportunities and Dortmund didn't, and oftentimes that's what wins you a final. So, shout out to all the Madridistas out there. Tracy decided not to join this podcast because he's currently crying somewhere in the corner of Barcelona. But yeah, it was a good game overall. The expected result, but a fun final to watch for sure.
Yeah, well, they were not the super team to win it this time, although they have wild amounts of talent. But say next year they will be a super team, because it sounds like Mbappe has been confirmed for the very first time by Fabrizio Romano. That's obviously a joke. It's legitimately the 1,000th time he said confirmed. Here we go, everything. He sent it out at 4 a.m. this morning saying, "Oh, it's been officially confirmed. They've signed everything." Swear to God, I've heard that tweet 12 different times. But what we can confirm for the first time, not at all, is that the U.S. will be playing versus Colombia in a friendly leading up to Copa America. Nick, this is a big matchup because these two teams very likely could see each other in the knockout round. It's either going to be Brazil, who will face in another friendly, and we'll have a preview for that as well, or Colombia. So, Nick, from a US's perspective, you have Christian Pulisic in the form of his life. Sounds like he has a girlfriend too. So Gio Reyna getting
Oh la
engaged,
la.
Christian Pulisic with a girlfriend. I mean,
Shout out
the
Gio.
boys are going to have some extra motivation. But we go up against a Colombia squad that, I mean, they have a lot of talent, and they're a more historical team that is in some very great form. What do you think in terms of Colombia? What they can give to the US that's going to give them some problems here?
I think Colombia should win this game handedly, and I don't know
Well,
if there's a huge talent discrepancy. If I'm being honest, I don't think USA is that far off of the Colombian talent. I think maybe our high end's a little bit higher, but if you look at the squads on a whole, I think they're not even, but they're closer to even than these two countries probably have been in a while. So I have a lot of faith in our coach right now. We are 20 games unbeaten since the disappointment of the last World Cup, and we're playing really really good ball. We've beaten some really good. We beat Brazil at the Maracanã. We've beaten a lot of. I believe we beat Uruguay in that run as well twice. So it's been an impressive run of form for us. We have all the heavy hitters. The only guy that was like maybe he'll come, maybe he won't to this roster was Falcao, and he's like 48 or whatever he is right now. So like it's not he wasn't really gonna play aside from a couple of cameo minutes at the end of games anyways. And we have a really really strong squad. We have obviously Luis Diaz. We have the heavy hitters out who are in Dubai right now with Ospina and Uribe both coming into the squad. James is finding his form, not to the extent of being at Real Madrid, but he's played very well for Colombia recently. Jefferson Lerma in there as well, playing very well. So Daniel Munoz, part of the Crystal Palace squad that's been electric lately. And our strikers look really solid too, from Duran to all the different options that we have up top. So I I think we're in fantastic form. I think we're a better organized unit. It's gonna be kind of a change of pace for USA, where I think a lot of teams kind of like to they're going to be introduced very much like South American football in this game. And South American football is just teams sprinting at each other for the entire 90 minutes and trying to always get in behind. And it's not so much of this possession based stuff. It is direct. It is attacking. It is trying to pull things off, trying to find danger in every single moment. So I think that USA might not be totally equipped to handle that straight off the bat, especially because Colombia should play their starting like pretty close to their starting 11. We're playing Bolivia after USA in our second friendly. So, Bolivia's whatever, but I think USA is a stronger opponent there for sure. So you want to tune up for your starters. You want to see what's going to be going on in Copa. I think we're kind of being viewed as maybe some dark horses for this tournament at the moment. And it's the first major tournament since this past World Cup. So there's a lot on the line for us. And I think I'm gonna go like probably 2-0 in this one, maybe 2-1.
Yeah,
Well,
honestly,
you know what 20 games undefeated means.
they're due
They're
for a
due.
loss. That's the way we like to think over here. They are definitely due. I mean, honestly, that's maybe a bad omen for Colombia, but I do think that they should purposely lose at least one of their friendlies going into Copa America so that it's not
Should they?
a storyline for them. No, definitely not. But in my opinion, if the U.S. were to hurt them with a loss there, it might help them in the tournament. Yeah, I certainly think that they are a bit of a dark horse for the tournament here. They're in the same group as Brazil, so they're not going to end up playing them in one of the first knockout rounds. So that does help you a little bit, not having to play such a huge team like that, playing either a Uruguay or a US. I think both those teams are pretty beatable for Colombia, and obviously, yeah, 20 games unbeaten is crazy, especially in CONMEBOL. Going to
That's a
the
gauntlet.
US overview, uh, the manager that has you guys so hot is not a strength for the US men's national team. I'd like to say that the US men's national team is in some great form. They are individually, Nick. I mean, all these players, I can't really think of any of them that are doing too bad other than maybe Balogun, but even at that, it's like he's been lackluster, but he's not been bad per se. But Greg Berhalter in CONCACAF has not impressed much. We have the most talent that I have ever seen the U.S. men's national team, at least in terms of pedigree, in terms of European clubs. I mean, we have every single player essentially on the roster playing in Europe, playing at big clubs, and with Pulisic, McKennie, Weah, I guess not as much Weah right now, but we have players that are also just playing significant roles within those teams. But once again, it's the sum of the parts, not just the parts themselves here. Greg Berhalter, it took 90th minute corner to get past Jamaica. We do end up winning a trophy, but there hasn't been anything that said, hey, you know what, we absolutely can take it to the next level. So I think that's what this game, he can hype it up to be, is if Greg Berhalter is serious about changing the way that that the world views American soccer, or that Americans view soccer. I'm not sure which one he's on now. He loves his slideshows with that as the first slide. Hey boys,
Seriously.
this is what we're here for. But that is this time. You're playing Colombia, then you're playing Brazil. If you can knock off a Colombia, I don't think you're beating a Brazil in a friendly. If you can beat a Colombia, that is one of those somewhat statement wins. It's still a friendly, so I wouldn't say it's a statement win. But, you know, the Jurgen Klinsmann's won against the Germany, the Netherlands, the Italies. This would be a very good team to beat. And it'd get you a lot of confidence going into a tournament that you might run into them again. So, Nick, with that being said, keys to the game. Who do you think are maybe 1 to 2 players on Colombia's side that will absolutely change this one, and maybe just the matchups that they're going to be exposed against the US?
That's hard. It's going to be James for the 10 because he should be able to control there. The thing is, he doesn't even start every game because they've been starting this kid named Jorge Carrascal. He plays in Russia, and he's a baller. They've started him a lot at the 10. We'll see what happens there. I think obviously the answer, the easy one, is Luis Diaz versus whoever the hell is USA's right back. Like that might be the key
That's
to
a concern, brother.
that might be the key to US's entire game, honestly. But I have more of an eye at the striker position, and I think the United States center back position has been a little bit overhyped by a lot of the U.S. men's national team fans for a while. And Chris Richards has played well, and I get Carter Vickers has been good when healthy. I get all that stuff, but it's never really translated to real solidity at the national team level. So we have a lot of options that we can throw up there. A guy like Rafael Santos Borre, who won the Europa League with Frankfurt. A guy like Johan Duran, who's a lot more pacey and physical and stronger up front, kind of that
Done well with
traditional
Villa.
Colombian striker. Yeah, done very well. A guy who's more experienced, maybe like Miguel Borja up top as well. Borja, sorry, who's been playing in Argentina recently, but has been successful for the national team before. So there's gonna be a lot of options out there, and I don't expect any of them to get a full 90. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the United States adapts once those changes do come. Something that our manager Lorenzo has done really well is make changes when needed and not being afraid of
Making
using
changes when
all 18
needed. That would
players.
be nice, wouldn't it?
So I think the key will be the main key that everyone's going to talk about is Luis Diaz. I'm gonna focus a little bit more on that number 9 position. Whoever starts for Colombia, I expect it to be Borre. He's been our most consistent guy in Conembo, I would say, but Duran has been playing very well for Aston Villa, so I think it could be either of those two. And I think both of them have a different set of problems for U.S. men's national team, specifically when you look at that center back spot. And I do think maybe USA can cancel out the midfield. I'm sure you'll talk about them in your keys to the game in a second, maybe controlling that game. But Colombia likes to just bypass the midfield a lot too. We run and we play hard in the midfield, but we're not necessarily looking to just tiki taka you to death in the middle of the park. We're trying to get in behind. We're trying to run at you with the ball. That's really what we're doing. So I don't, unless Tyler Adams plays a huge friendly game for them, which I don't know why you would do that. I expect the midfield not to be too much of an issue for Colombia. I'm gonna go with the striker position for Colombia.
Okay, yeah, I mean, center backs, I think, to your point, at least in the last window, were less than stellar, especially versus Jamaica. Chris Richards had some major lapses in judgment where he just seemed like maybe he was thinking it was going to be easier than it ended up being. But that was at the start of his run of form with Crystal Palace. He has gotten into actual center back rather than CDM, which he was kind of starting at that point. So I do have some faith in him in center back and holding up because he has been holding up in the Premier League very well, albeit a different system potentially. I guess so we could have some wing backs. But I think for me, the key aspects of the game or key matchups other than Luis Diaz versus whoever the fuck we have at right back, because that one is, I mean, that one's sticking out like a sore thumb. You have to figure out something at right back because Luis Diaz is a hell of a dribbler. And if you give him enough chances,
Not
he is
afraid to
going to be
shoot.
finishing. Yeah, he's going to
Yeah.
shoot. Not, as we saw with Liverpool, not always some great product to finish his dribbles, but he'll get into a dangerous position and he'll serve it up or have a great shot and
He's gonna have at least like
see what
5 or
happens.
6 shots this game.
Oh,
So
100%. 100%.
yeah.
I think Tim Weah might be the best option there, but I won't go that way because that one does seem like the elephant in the room. Everybody's going to be thinking that. I think 3 keys to the game. It's going to be down to the U.S. playmakers. This system that Greg Berhalter has, and really every system that Greg Berhalter has ever coached in, lacks a lot of creativity, lacks attacking. It is defensively stable. It's what we saw in the World Cup. We were defensively stable against England. We were defensively stable against Wales and Iran, but not a lot of attacking was going on. It is down to special players. So you're going to need the creators, the Gio Reyna and the Christian Pulisic, to be creating and get them the ball as much as possible. Let them do individual talent things. It's not going to be working within the system because there is no system right there for attack, really. It is move the ball up, find a playmaker, and have them make a play. Hopefully Balogun or Haji can make those runs for them to find. But it is down to those 2 playmakers to create any type of offense for the U.S. in this one. Number 2 is kind of what you had aforementioned, is the midfield. This Colombia team, really all the Southern American teams that we're going to be going up against in Copa America, but I mean, in this one, it is going to be high levels of midfield. It's going to be technical, tactical, and physical. And this midfield, they've usually been just dominant against opponents because we're playing against a Mexico with older players or playing against like Canada that has some good players, but it's not at the level that they're playing. This is a huge step up for all of Copa America, but for Colombia, especially with the form that they're on, 20 games unbeaten, is we need to control the middle of that field so that it becomes easier to find Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic, and it becomes easier for our center backs to have some stability back there. I think that is going to be really interesting to see what Greg Berhalter goes out there with in terms of, Johnny, Adams, Musa, McKennie, Reyna, Luca De La Torre, who knows? I would say that he's maybe a long shot to be the starter out of that group, but I mean, there's a lot of talent there. You got to fit it in together, and they have to control that midfield. And third, Nick, is the striker position. I swear to God, no matter what happens in terms of getting talent like Balogun, Pepe, being a young prodigy, scoring goals, Haji Wright scoring goals, Sargent scoring goals, we have never had just it since Altidore or Dempsey, that guy. And there's a saying, if you have many options, you don't really have one. And that's, I think, the case here with the US's striker position that I love all the talent. It is crazy the amount of talent we have and the people in form. But we need one to step up. This is one of those first games you have the shot. You have 2 games before Copa America to stake your claim. I think Balogun will get first shot at it. But Nick, how badly does the U.S., if they have any hope of going far in the tournament, need somebody to step up in these friendlies so that going into the tournament, this guy's on form, he can score goals for us. So we're not, seeing musical chairs up there.
You definitely need someone to step up, but it's gonna be musical chairs in these 2 friendlies. Like Berhalter doesn't have the answer at the moment, and I don't know if I fault him for that specific issue with the national team. I kind of fault the players. No one has grabbed this job by the scruff of the neck. Now, Sargent wasn't here and he's been on some incredible form. He wasn't here for the last tournament. So is this his shot? Does Berhalter give him the start against Colombia, and does he run with it? You'd expect him to at least get minutes, right? So can someone really grab it? I think your 3 points are fantastic for Copa as a whole. I think specifically with Brazil coming up, right? What is it like? 6 days after, 5 days after? I don't know.
Yeah.
Timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So I think he's gonna want to tweak a lot in this Colombia game, and then maybe like, I mean, Colombia beat Brazil last time we played, but you'd be crazy if you think that Colombia is the better team right now. So I
Yeah.
think I'd assume that he does a lot of rotation this game, and that's another reason I feel pretty confident Colombia's gonna win because I don't expect that as much from Colombia. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I think you're right, though. The biggest key for this is, does a number 9 look actually convincing for the United States national team? I think the midfield we have, you said, like, if you have too many options, you don't really have one. That doesn't feel true for the midfield. I feel like there are, like, I feel pretty good with maybe 3 combinations that I think, like, oh, okay, Eunice got left out, but this 3 is strong. Okay, Johnny got left out, but this 3 is pretty strong. Okay, Tyler got left out, but this 3 is pretty strong. So or Weston got left out, this 3 is pretty strong. I feel confident that he'll be able to make a decision that will work there. And I think he has enough confidence in all of his midfielders to change it mid-game if it's not working, like we saw in the Nations League. Surprisingly. But I think he's proven that now. So more than anything, it's that 9. Can someone establish themselves? I think Haji is going to be more of the impact guy off the bench, kind of the role that he played previously, or someone coming in off the left or off the right, whichever side Pulisic isn't playing on, which is also something that he's been talking about. Greg has. So I think the most important thing is, does a number 9 look good against pretty solid backline from Colombia with Mojica, who plays in Spain, with Munoz, who plays in England, with Davidson Sanchez in Turkey, with Lukumi, who also either in Belgium or in Spain right now, I forget. But a pretty good backline that's been playing really well for us lately, and a really robust midfield. So can they handle the physicality? Can they finish against a good team in Colombia? That's going to be the biggest thing. And can one of them really take this job and walk into this tournament with a lot of confidence? For sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we mentioned in the Champions League finals. Real Madrid, the reason they win is they take their chances. Other teams can be wasteful. They are going to score a goal no matter what. They're going to finish the chances that they create. That's kind of what the US is going to have to do. Is they're going to have to find somebody that can finish those chances. We will see what will happen here. USA versus Colombia. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw on this one. I think the
There's
US
no
versus
chest in
Colombia.
that.
No, it is.
There was zero
That was,
chest in
dude,
that
that was
prediction.
just fucking.
In
That
a
was
in a
the
friendly
saddest 1-1 prediction I've ever
against
heard.
Colombia without an answer at right back. Yeah, I just don't see it going too hot here. I don't have trust in Greg Berhalter to get a big result. He has never done it. I will gladly be proven wrong if they win, though. I'm rooting for a big performance here. Nick,
This
final
would
thoughts
be,
before we close it out.
yeah, I mean, really quick, this would be Greg's best result ever. Like, I think,
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
could you
gonna
say the
argue
1-1 draw? The draw against
I
England?
best win. I think you have to
Yeah,
win to
okay,
have
fine.
a. If you're
Sure.
really hyping
His
it up,
best
you gotta
win.
win a game. Yeah.
It's his best win. I mean, the Mexico's so bad lately. Who cares? Like, I think it'd be his best win in charge, which is why I don't think it's gonna happen. Why would this be the one that is his best win in charge? What else has inspired confidence? I'll
What has
stick with my
given us
2-0.
any reason to believe it?
I'll stick with 2-0 from Colombia. I'm really excited for this team. I think we're gonna like sneak into the semis this Copa, and then from there anything can happen. So I'm really excited for this Colombia team. Nestor Lorenzo has changed my life since the disappointment of the last World Cup. Um, he's been incredible to watch in Cotton Ball qualifying. So very excited for this friendly. We'll have a full recap next week as well. But excited to watch this game for sure.
Absolutely. Crazy what a good manager can do. Just if anybody in US soccer
Seriously.
is watching this, potentially, But we will see you after the game on Sunday. We will not have an episode coming out on Tuesday. We will have one after the game Sunday. The game is on Saturday. We'll have it coming out Sunday. So we can get you guys all caught up on everything that we saw, review it all, and get you ready also for the U.S.'s friendly versus Brazil afterwards. Until then, peace.
Peace, y'all.